Welcome to the rules explanation video of Artists of Yuna. In Artists of Yuna, you are an art dealer. Your job is to collect paint, supply it to artists who then make paintings. Then you can take their paintings and place them on walls to gather fame and become the most famous art dealer in the Yuna universe. Now, let's start with setup. You start the setup by placing the victory point track on the top. Below it, you place the paint board and also the tokens on the left side, on each color represented. Next, you place the powers board next to it, the flip powers and the permanent powers. You shuffle them and you put 3 of each out. Then you shuffle and place the paint cards. These are the paint cards. You shuffle them and you place out 4 of them. They create the offer. Then you place the paint cards next to them, the wild paint cards. These wild cards, in this case there are only 6 because we set up for a 2-player game. For a 3-player game would be 9. For a 4-player game there would be 12. Next, you roll the d20 the same amount of times as there are players. So there are 2 players now. We rolled it twice and then we placed these 2 location boards. You can see the numbers in the bottom left. In this case we rolled a 17 and we also rolled an 8. Next, we shuffle the paintings and we put out 3 paintings, as you can see here. After the paintings, you focus on the final awards. You shuffle them and you choose 3. Here are 3 final awards. The bottom final award, this one, is a special one as it gives players a special card at the start of the game. Normally, final awards do not supply anything. Next, you give every player a player board. You can see here. Every player also receives a player board, 7 paint cards. In this case, a final awards card because it's a special one, but we'll talk about that later. And a player aid. The player aid is double-sided. They also receive a victory point marker, which they then place next to the victory point track. It starts at 1, so there's no 0, so you place it next to the track. Then, before we begin, there's one more final step. Every player will receive 2 paintings, 2 random paintings, and 2 powers of their choice, also random. Out of these 4, they will choose 3. Let's say this person has chosen this painting and has chosen 2 permanent powers to keep. They will place it here and here. These are their unfinished projects, which they will try to complete throughout the game, or maybe discard later if they change their mind and no longer want them. Now the game is ready to start. During the game you will have 7 actions, but you can only do 1 on your turn. Let's take a look at the different actions. The first action is that you can exchange 2 cards. This is a paint offer. These 4 cards is a paint offer. You cannot just take a card, but you can exchange them. So let's look at the 7 cards the yellow player has. He has 2 oranges, and let's say he wants another orange and another white. So he decides to get rid of a blue and a yellow. He places them here, takes the orange, eventually takes the white and places them back. That is how you do the exchange action. You can also exchange just 1 card or a maximum of 2. That's it. You can never just take from the offer unless a power allows you to. The second action is draw 2 cards. Then you just draw 2 cards from the deck. If you already have 7 cards in your hand, you can still draw 2, but you immediately have to discard down to 7, unless you have a power that allows you to carry more cards. The third action is take a permanent or a flip power. These powers are here. So that means you will take one of these, you will choose one of these powers and take it. You do not complete it yet, you just take it. So, if you have no idea what all these mean, you can see that each of them has a small number. In this case, number 3, number 2, number 6, number 4, number 1, and number 15. All of these are explained in the power booklet with numbers as well. You also have reset the permanent or flip powers and choose one. You can decide to get rid of all 3 of these, choose 3 new ones and take it, or reset these 3, look at 3 new ones and take one. Another action is take a wild paint card. You take one of these cards. Another action is exchange 3 paint tokens for 1. Let's say you have 3 orange tokens, or maybe not even that. You have like yellow and white as well, and you really need a red token. You can say, oh, I'm going to exchange these 2 orange and 1 yellow for 1 red. And maybe now you can complete something. But that is a desperate move for later on. Your seventh and last action is completing a paint set. When you have a certain amount of cards, you can complete a set. But let's now go into what all these actions do and why you would actually do them. Let's talk about completing a paint set. If you have 2 cards of the same color, then you'll receive these 3 rewards. Well, actually only 1, because it says no and 0. If you have 3 of the same, you get 2, 4, 2, 5, you get 3 rewards, 6, 3 rewards, 7 different ones, different colors, you only get the top one. So what are these different rows? First of all, there are paint tokens. So if you have 2 of the same color, let's say 2 orange, then you will get 1 orange token. That's it, nothing else. But if you have, let's say, 3 white cards, a set of 3 white ones, then you will get 1 white token and you will move 1 spot on the paint board. I'll explain the paint board in a second. And you will not draw any extra cards. If you go to 5 cards and 6, you will be able to draw cards as well. That means if you have 5, you can have 3 tokens, you move on the paint board, and you get to draw 1 extra card. You get to draw 1 extra card because you just spent 5 cards. It's to avoid downtime a little bit, let's say. Next, you have the last one. That means you have to have 7 different colors. So each color has to be a different color. And then you can choose 3 tokens of your choice. You don't move on the paint board, you don't draw any cards. So it's also something you might want to do near the end of the game, maybe. Your choice. So let's take a look at the paint board because it's very important. This is the paint board. It's very important because it can get you a lot of bonuses and a lot of points. Remember, when you complete card sets of 3 and higher, so 3, 4, 5, 6, you move on the paint board. With 7, you do not. And with 2 cards, you also do not. So let's say I have a set of 3 red cards. That means I get 1 paint token and I move on the paint board. So I move forward, it goes over 1, I get 1 point. So let's say I'm blue, I get 1 point. Now let's say the yellow player now has a set of 4 blue cards. They move 1 spot, you always move 1 spot on the paint board. It goes to 2, gets 2 points, but they're in the gray area. That means they get a bonus, you can see here. That allows them to draw 2 cards as well. So it's a good idea to keep your eye on the paint board to jump on possible bonuses. Because if you manage to get to the 3, you get to choose an extra paint token of your choice. If you reach the end, you get 4 points and an extra 2, so 6 points in total. That bonus only applies once though, so if anyone reaches the end, no more bonuses will be gotten for the combination of those colors. Also, if 4 rows reach 4, the game will end. It's one of the end game triggers. That's the paint board. Now, let's move on to the powers. This is the power board. As you can see, the powers here are available for you to choose from. But when you take them, you don't complete them yet. You put them above your board, as you can see here. Now there's 2 permanent ones. I'll remove one and I'll put a flip power as well. So right now you have them, they're yours, nobody else can take them, but you can't use them yet. First you have to complete them. So for example, this one costs 3 paint tokens. It can be of any color and any combination. Just spend 3 and then you can place it here. From now on, this permanent power will be yours for the rest of the game. That means for every art piece of single lotus, which is, for example, this painting here is a single lotus painting, you will get an extra 3 victory points. Here we have a flip power. Now this is a very expensive one, as you can see, 7 tokens. But this flip power allows you to just take 2 cards from the offer without exchanging. So it's pretty powerful. Now, you can do that once, and once you do it, you flip it over. Now, you cannot use this power anymore until you complete a set of at least 3 cards. Once you complete a set of 3 cards, you can flip it back over and you can use it again. So you can use it a lot of times, but there's always a downtime. And you can see there's 2 more spots here, but it's gray. These are colored, these are gray. That means the moment you have 1 of each powers, you can only have 1 here. So if you go for another permanent power, you cannot have a flip power. If you go for a flip power, you cannot have a permanent power here. So that's one of the rules. Then we have the paintings. To complete paintings, you need to collect paint tokens. You see the name of the painting at the bottom. There are 5 different artists. You can also see how many victory points they are worth. 16 victory points, 16, 19. And of course, the more victory points they are worth, the more tokens you need. You can also see the colors that you need, and at the bottom, there's a rainbow requirement, which means you can use any type of color paint tokens in any combination. So these are the paintings. In the beginning you get a painting, or you can use one of your actions to take a painting here or reset the paintings, and then you place it above your board. Like, let's look at the yellow player. They're focusing on 2 paintings and a flip power. Now let's look at the paint tokens they already have. You can only have a maximum of 10. You already have 6. But this one, Shade True, which gives 7 victory points, only requires 2 red ones and 2 pink ones, which is exactly what yellow has. So on their turn, yellow can spend this and then build this painting. Now this action is for free. Whenever you build a power or a painting, it's free. So you have this card, and then you can place it on one of the locations. So when you place this painting, you have many options. You have 6 locations. Every location will give you a bonus. Sometimes the whole board will give you an extra bonus, sometimes it will not. In this case, the bonus can also be a requirement sometimes, will give you 1 victory points for every 2 paint tokens that you use. Now for this card, we use 4 paint tokens. That will give us 2 points, plus the 7 points at the bottom of the card. So 9 points if we place it anywhere here. On top of that, we'd also get 3 cards, a paint token of your choice, a wild card. Here, you would get, if you choose to place it here, you can get 1 paint token, or 4, or 2 or 3, but for every paint token you choose, you lose 2 victory points. The same thing for cards, but for every 4 cards you take, you lose 1 victory point. Here, if you discard one of your powers, for every power you discard, you get 5 victory points. You can get up to 15 points by discarding your powers. The final part are the final awards. These are drawn at the beginning of the game, and they will give you points at the end of the game. For example, this one. If you manage to put 2 paintings next to each other, and they're yours, you will get 3 victory points each time. So you can have this bonus multiple times, but of course other people will try to block you. If you manage to place a painting that is below the value of 13 victory points, you will get 2 victory points each time. This one is a special one. Everybody draws a blind card in the beginning, a random card. For example, blue drew purple. That means at the end of the game, blue will get all the points on the paint board for purple. So 1, 2, 4, 6 points extra. Yellow drew green. So in this case, it's a lot more valuable. 1, 2, 4, 6, 9, 12 points. So that kind of forces people to go for a certain color. But there are 4 or 5 more extra ones. They're all in the book. For the location cards as well, location boards, there are many more location boards than you see here. There are 20. So there's a lot of variability when it comes down to those things. Now let's look at the things that you get points for at the end of the game. When does the game end? The game ends when 4 rows on the paint board reach the end, or when every location board is filled. So what do you get points for at the end of the game? You get 1 victory point for every paint token you have. You score points for the final awards. For every completed paintings by one artist, one specific artist, if you complete 1 painting, 2 victory points, 2, 6, 3, 12, and 4, 20 points. If you have painting sets of different artists, so let's say you have paintings of 2 different artists, you get 5 points. If you have 3 different artists, 10 points, 4, 20. For every completed power, 1 power is 2, 2 powers 5, 3 powers is 10. And whoever has the most points at the end of the game wins. There's also a number of tiebreakers that count at the end if necessary. That was Artists of Yuna. You should now know how to play, and I hope you have fun, and thank you for watching.